Never get in bed with the cokehead. Before we get started, I would like for you to check out my Locked Up Abroad Ecuador review and analyzation guide that you can find in the description box below, where I'm giving my philosophies and perspectives on a different episode. Alright, let's get it. Now, one of my favorite Locked Up Abroad episodes is actually Season 3, Episode 2 in Lima, featuring Russell Thoresen. Okay, he basically went to a Peruvian prison after getting involved with his 17-year-old girlfriend, who kind of persuaded him to go down there so she could smuggle some stuff. But the criminals end up turning the game around on him, and next thing you know, he has to complete the job. First, I want to say is that this guy went to Florida because his grandfather died, and him and his father had to go down there to clean up his estate. Right now, this guy's from a small town in Tennessee, and let me tell you something about these small towns in comparison to big cities or mainstream areas such as the Florida Keys. I mean, you go down there, you have all types of people down there just jet setting and having fun or whatever. But the thing about it is that I noticed that some of these people from small towns, when they go to some of these big cities or some of these fabulous places, they become hypnotized by the whole environment, and then they end up getting played. Like, for example, I remember watching the first 48 episode, right, where this woman from small town Pennsylvania used to go into Philadelphia to, I guess, help some of the inner city kids. She was one of these hip hop white girls, and she was dealing with a lot of brothers in the area, and she would like go to these rough areas. Eventually, a situation happened and she ended up getting killed. And when the police officers went to her house, I mean, they had to drive like an hour out. So she was traveling from her small town to the inner city just to hang out with these dudes. And I used to have a friend who was on a PL. He wasn't really my friend, but he used to talk about how he dealt with a suburban girl who used to come to the inner city to hang out with these, city dudes and whatever. And she would actually hold his narcotics for him. They'll be walking down a block on the main streets. She'll hold his narcotics for him, and she just liked the idea of being in the inner city. It's like, wow, wow. It's just hypnotized by you. And I used to tell him that if that woman was to get caught, she gonna snitch on you at the drop of a hat. You think she's finna trade in her lifestyle for you? Shoot, you crazy, man. But you gotta understand that when you come from some of these small towns, sometimes it's better to do what you know and just stick to your guns, because when you travel to an unknown place, sometimes you might get caught up. When I did that Black in Peru video, that's kind of what happened to me. I didn't expect to go to Peru, but when I went there, I'm like, whoa. And based on the comments, something more drastic could have happened. I just didn't know it. In the next clip, I'm going to discuss how this female Kim walked over to Mike in a white tank top and Russell was telling them how her husband had just beat her up. She was 17 at the time, and when Russell seen her, he just absolutely fell in love with her. So this is a 17-year-old girl with a husband. Of course, it's not a husband. I mean, even if she is married, that's some dysfunctional things right there. For her to be 17-year-old and married to a dude who, quote unquote, beating on her on a domestic charge. You have to understand, in the street, sometimes when a person is trying to play a game on you to get you to basically separate you from your money, what they would do is give you a sob story. Oh, my husband beat up on me. Oh, I don't have any money to pay the doctor for my kids. Oh, I'm so broke. I don't have no money for the bills. Hoping that you would be the captain and jump to save the day with your cape on, just flapping in the wind. This is what they're hoping, that you will offer them money. See, that's how they manipulate you out of it. They're not going to ask you for the dough head up. They're going to try to say these little things to, provoke an idea in your mind to get you to dish out your cash. Once you do that, you stuck in the trick category. Then you become a personal ATM machine for these people. So that's what you gotta understand. Sometimes people will give you a sob story, and if she's a 17-year-old girl with a quote-unquote husband, and she in a situation where the dude is beating up on her, you might have to charge that to the game. In this next clip, he basically told her that she can go to his trailer home and relax to basically get her mind right. And he walked in on her sniffing some lime off a mirror. If I'm living in a project building, housing project building, in one of the roughest cities in all of America, number one, I shouldn't be, you know, I mean, if I'm living there because I'm in an unfortunate situation, that's one thing. But you should be working to get out of there. If I get with a girl and she's sitting on my project bed, sniffing some narcotics, it's time to charge that to the game, homie. You don't get involved with nothing like that. If you find out anybody is a cokehead, you should avoid them like the plague. Now, I know there's good people out there, and you can learn something from everybody, and everybody got something to offer to this world. You never know who you run into because they might have a lot of knowledge. Man, forget that. If a person is loyal to a drug, they would do anything to get that drug. Do you understand? Anything. They will have no problem putting your life in jeopardy, putting you in situations where, let's say you on a corner trying to buy some, and you go into some of these rough areas with this girl, following this girl, and next thing you know, you get caught up because people asking you what gang you in. Or if the police ride by and she decide to smuggle some stuff, and next thing you know, you getting caught up. You understand? Let's say she's sitting on the porch waiting for a postal package to come in the mail so she can pick it up, and you sitting on that porch with you. If any narcotics officers is watching, they gonna roll up on you too, draw their guns on you too, putting your life in jeopardy. You gotta understand, man, when it comes to narcotics, especially if a woman is doing it, man, you know, they will open their legs to let you in so they can basically get what they want out of you. You know, I mean, you got to understand that some people have the physical attributes that would draw you in. That's the reason why they accentuate their best qualities and characters. It's like when you're watching a music video and you see a famous rapper or a famous female singer. She might not have skills. She may not even have a good voice. But for the fact that she got body is what attracts you to her. So you got to understand the physical aspect of drawing you in. So keep that in mind. I never really noticed this before, but on a table, there was some marijuana showing that he was basically getting high on pot. So he wasn't in his right mind in the first place too. So in this clip, they started to basically talk and get to know each other. And then eventually that leads to them make it out. And he had sex with her the first night. You understand? He said he fell in love with her the moment he saw her. And then to hit it the same day, red flag, dude. So she ended up meeting a guy in South Beach who was telling her about this drug smuggling opportunity where she would go down Peru and bring back 2 kilos of coke for $15,000. She presented this opportunity to Russell and Mike over a cup of coffee, and rightfully so. Russell, he was absolutely surprised. He's like, hey, are you asking me to go down there and help you do this? And he did reject it at first, but sure enough, like a simp, he fell into the fold. As you can see, that's a story often heard. Hey, I'm going to pay your way. I'm going to offer you a certain amount of money to do this and do that. And next thing you know, if you bring it back for me, you're going to get paid. Let me tell you something, man. One thing about these criminals. These criminals, they will always offer you the world. Can't trust these people. I remember finding a cell phone one day. I was taking a bus late at night, and next to the cell phone was some throw-ups. So apparently the person who left it down there, I guess they was drunk, they threw up, they lost their cell phone. So I picked up the cell phone and I kept it for a while, and eventually the dude who owned the phone got in contact with me by calling it. So he said, hey man, come over to this block to pick up this phone. And I'm familiar with the block. I used to ride past there a lot, you know, and it was an okay area, so I felt comfortable going over there. So I go over there to the area, right? And he gave me his address. I go to his house. I ring the doorbell. His grandmother answered. I said, no, he's on the main street over there. So I walk over there and I asked like a random dude who looked kind of like the dude. I was like, hey man, do you know where so-and-so at? And he looked at me like, why you want to know? I was like, hey, I found this phone. I'm just trying to return it, you know. And then the guy called over to him. Hey, go ahead, you know. Dude came over, man, and I gave him his phone. He was a quote unquote thug looking dude. I think he was out there hustling. And when I say hustling, I mean selling drugs. I'm not 100% sure. So his friend came over, you know. Now, and they talked to me and whatever. And before I went there, he said, if you return the phone, I'm gonna give you a soft buck. Soft buck in Chicago terms is slang for $10, right? And I'm like, okay, you know, I didn't care about the money. And keep in mind, this guy had pictures on his phone of him showing, I mean, loads of cash, $100 bills, $100 bills, $100 bills on top of $100 bills. So he was giving off the image as if he had money, right? So I'm talking with him and his friend, and he tells me, hey man, I don't have a soft buck for you. You only got $3. He gives me $3. I was like, all right, man, give me $3. Then I leave. Now, these dudes are always going to short you. There's a few Locked Up Abroad episodes where, you know, the kingpin or the lieutenant will offer the mule a certain amount of money and they never give it to him. In fact, they'll play them. Now, if you're a weakling, and I'm saying like this dude looked like he has a weak personality. No disrespect to you, Robert, if you're listening, but you seem very submissive, like a person could kind of like run all over you and manipulate you. And you got to understand this cokehead, right, who been in the streets, who dealing with multiple dudes, pulling her in every direction mentally and giving her, you know, intellectual game. Yeah, she's going to use those tactics on you. And next thing you know, you're stuck in a trick bag. Do you understand? But if people look at you, because they look at you up and down to see if you soft. I mean, look at me right now, man. I look softer than Play-Doh, softer than a birthday cake. You understand? Softer than a diaper. You understand? I'm everything. So people can kind of evaluate your body language and offer you. And in a way, that is a test. Let's say you do look big and bad and tough. When it comes to some of these street dudes, man, they will test you. And they'll be like, hey, I'm going to give you $3, hoping that you will stand up. And if you do stand up, they're going to plop, 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 you know, I mean, knock you all out. And you lay it out. You understand? That, you know, they're going to react. So in a way, he was putting me in a trick bag to maybe even provoke violence on me. Who knows, man? Pull out the gun. I mean, take it a step further. You never know what's on these hood dudes' minds or on these criminal minds, man. They would do any and everything that you could think of for no absolute reason. Or maybe he just didn't want to give me $10. He wanted to save some money. Who knows? But yeah, that's one thing about these dudes. They're going to promise you the world. You never know. The dude probably, the dude who, the South Beach dude that they're talking about, he probably offered a girl a certain price and she's presenting it to him. And she knew he was going to go because he was absolutely in love with her, letting his emotions block his logical mind. You can't do that when you're in the streets. You got to always be logical. The mafia used to say you cannot let emotions determine your actions. You got to always be intellectually inclined when you out there on the streets. Straight up. Now, at first, this guy says no. But then over the course of time, she persuaded him. She was like, hey, I'm going to go and you can either follow me if you want to. I'm going to go by myself. And him being the captain wanted to save everybody. He decided to step up and say, hey, I'm going to go down there with you, but I'm not going to carry everything. And she agreed that you're not going to carry anything. But let's think about it. When you in that country, it's not your rules anymore. You ain't you know, at home or in La La Land anymore. No, you in a different country. Whatever rules they play by, you got to play by. And one of my homeboys who's probably watching this right now, you know, he never traveled outside the United States, and he was talking about going to Brazil. Yeah, he wanted to basically, you know, just go and do that whole Rio thing, you know, get with women and whatever. But I told him, like, you know, there's a lot of scams out there, man. You got to be careful. If we get into a taxi cab, you never know. This dude might do a bait and switch where he take your big bill, switch it out for a small bill, give it back to you. What you going to do? Call the police? No. Y'all going to argue? No. You're going to give him the money back. He's going to be like, hey, amigo, you know, you didn't give me the right change back. And then and then my friend, he asked one important question. He was like, how can they do that? Can they do that? I'm like, yeah, this is their country. This ain't America where you could call the cops, you could sue the cab company. No, you go to a place like Lima, Peru, you got regular people driving cabs as personal vehicles, as this one female in the comment section of my vehicle say. So they could do anything. This is their country. The thing about it is that you gotta abide by their rules. So, Mr. Robert, you thought you was gonna go down there and not do anything just because she said so? Just because a 17-year-old cokehead says so? She'll say anything to you to manipulate you. Believe that. But one, he's in a submissive position. Whatever these guys determine you're going to do, if they're going to put you in a hotel, if they're going to give you money for your plane, and back then I guess you had to go to the airport to pay a tax, you're under their control. You should never be out of control in a situation like that. If you decide to do some illegal stuff or go with somebody who's going to do some illegal stuff, y'all need to be in control of the situation the whole time, because the moment you're out of control, the opposition, or the ops as they like to call it here, will basically have a one-up on you and be an advantage that you're not at. He said something that was very important. He said that when she was communicating with the guy, she was very relaxed, as if she'd done this before. Yeah, she done it before, all right. She got another simp, another submissive simp to basically go down there and do this thing with her. Yeah. Most likely, she done did it before. She done knew these dudes, or she just was cool. But, you know, logically, yeah, she knew these dudes, dog. Come on. So the drug dealer ended up going back to their room and basically telling Russell, like, hey, Kim is going to go out first, and then you're going to go out the next day. Basically setting them up for the whammy bammy. First he disagreed with it, but Kim seemed very susceptible to this idea. She agreed with it. And he said that was out of her character. That's something she wouldn't normally do. So during this part, this guy basically burst into Russell's hotel room, start throwing him around, showing his gun, waving it, saying that Russell has to do the job because Kim basically went to the airport and ran away, got on the plane, and decided to save herself. Now this guy's telling Russell, hey, he has to do the job, he has to go out. Russell is rebuttaling, saying, hey, this is your problem. This is not my problem. And of course you can't talk to drug dealers like that. I mean, apparently these guys are forcing you to do it. So, yeah, he's basically telling him you have to do it, and then, you know, Russell agreed to it. Now, one thing I want to say before I continue with my analyzation is that this drug dealer said that if no one showed up with the drugs on the other side of the border in the United States, that there's no telling what those guys would do to Kim or her family. No, so apparently Russell got arrested, and we don't know what happened to Kim. I mean, if this story is real, like, let's say that Kim wasn't in on it. She might have got off. This is how they played him, right? Because I'm on this clip. They played him where Kim was to go out first. The drug dealers came and said, hey, Kim is going to go before you. You're going to go second, okay? Right then and there, he should have just hopped on a plane and left. Like, hey, something ain't right. If it don't feel right, especially when you in that type of business, most likely it ain't right. He's a softie, you understand? He's a Rudy or a Ruda. You know what a Ruda is? A Ruda is short for Rudy Poo. Chicago. Slang term from back in the early 2000s. He's a goofy. He's a mark. So they knew that they can pull this stunt on him. And he was going to go. He was going to just be scared or whatever. But let me be the devil's advocate and, you know, play his side. I had guns put out on me before. And it's not a good feeling at all. You automatically think death, like you're going to die. You automatically cooperate with these people. And when you got death looming over your head, like everything you ever did in your life is going to come to an absolute end. It's going to come to a halt, man. You know you haven't completed everything that you wanted to do in life, but this person is going to end it right now. When that thought and that reality is pushed into your face, it does something to you. That's why people who rob know that they've got the gun on you. They got power. It's not like the televisions. You understand? Some people are not afraid of having a gun put out on them. But when you have a gun put out on you, man, you automatically think death. And that is automatically glooming around you. You know, hovering around your head. So when you're scared like that and you're at a disadvantage, this person knows your name. They know your family. In a way, you feel pressured, but you know, this is why you prevent things from happening. Number one, you shouldn't have went down there. Number two, you shouldn't have, you know, when you saw these signs, you should have left. But once you pass that threshold and change your whole reality by doing what these dudes say, you got very little options from then because they have an angle on you. Remember, information is power. This part, he said that he tried to contact Kim and she wouldn't answer her phone. I think he tried for like a few days or something like that, a day or so. She wouldn't answer the phone. That right there should tell you that this woman was in on it. She wasn't scared. And number one, you thought she was in love with you. Just because you're in love with somebody doesn't mean they're going to reciprocate. Okay? They probably don't love you back. Always remember that. Okay? And you thought she was scared, she was in love and whatever. No, she was definitely in on it. One thing he said, I talked in my Peru videos, that they touch your side. You know, when I went up to the JetBlue counter, there was a random guy who I asked, like, hey, I'm trying to get my ticket. Where can I get my ticket? And he was like downstairs. And he did it so casually. He touched and then directed me like, oh no, you have to go down there. You know, it was just so casual. So based on what this guy is saying, based on what happened to me, I think they're trained. People in the airport are trained to do that because, of course, they know that people are smuggling millions of dollars from Peru and whatever, you know what I'm saying? So in this clip, he was explaining how he talked to his mother over the phone, and she got a lawyer who said that he's going to try to help him out. It seemed like he was getting a bit emotional during this part. However, I felt otherwise. Yeah, completely emotional. Very, very emotional, man. He said he's contacted his mother so he can get the situation sorted right away. But I mean, just the look in his eyes, and I hate to be so judgmental. Please forgive me. Please forgive me, man. But I would go as far to say that just looking at him and this empty look in his eyes, that there's some autism going on with that. Oh yeah, I went that far with it. It seemed like this guy might be autistic. Yeah. Just based on the way he looked, because I have those type of people in my family. Just that empty, just look. You never know. But let me play the devil's advocate. Maybe he was just so scared and so distraught that maybe it just messed up his mind. He was just gone, disconnected from reality. That could be a possibility. Yeah, it could be a possibility. Russell was sitting with the American guys and basically explaining to them how he got caught. And he said that one of the guys was listening very closely to what he was saying. After listening to Russell for a while, this guy named Danny came to the determination that Russell was set up. He told him, like, hey, you were set up. It's a classic. Think about it. See, when he was dealing drugs back in New York, he had girls who he would pay to basically have guys fall in love with him and then try to, you know, manipulate them to go down to Peru to try to smoke some drugs. Now, upon telling Russell this, he didn't believe it. He was like, no, that's impossible. Like, my girlfriend Kim would never do that to me. So upon hearing this, Russell started basically reminiscing about his times he spent together and how there's a possibility that Kim could have turned him in. So he just basically started breaking down the different events that happened, and you know, he could see how it fits into Kim turning on him. He said what Kim did to him broke his heart. I was like, no. A very important part. He's basically telling him that he was set up. Do you understand? That was the most deepest. I mean, it came full circle. That's why this is one of my favorite episodes. Apparently, he's a black dude from New York. They had a couple of African cats on the side or whatever. Maybe it was an African dude up in there too. You know what I'm saying? Because from what I understand, based on the comments on my Black in Peru video, some of the Nigerians or African dudes, they go down to Peru and basically get involved with drug smuggling. And if it was wide open back then yeah, they was taking advantage of that. You know, these guys actually save you to a certain degree, because once that guy, the jailer, put you into the cell with these American black dudes and this African dude, to a certain degree, they was kind of looking out for you, I believe, because if everything I know about Peru and Peruvian prisons, which I don't know much, I'm going to do more research later, but if all of that information is true, you would have got your wig split at the drop of a hat. If you didn't, you just ain't telling us. I will say there are women out there like that for sure. They get paid to have guys fall in love with them and then manipulate them to go down there and smuggle some stuff. As this guy said, he claims that he's, you know, he done that. And yeah, of course, Florida, New York, yeah, they'll manipulate you and get you to do that. Of course. I mean, there's women in the hood, right? I know it may sound kind of far-fetched to some people, but I've known females who admitted it on some of these chat rooms and whatever. Don't know if it's true. They could be catfishing. But there are women who, gangbangers, will have them go around dudes, be all flirtatious, flirty, be all submissive, and basically, sometimes it'll take time. They got all the time to wait in the world. Have these dudes, especially if you a dude higher up, to basically get you to fall in love. If not fall in love, then lust for them, to the point where you're opening your personal life to them. You're just telling everything, letting your personal information flow like Niagara Falls. Next thing you know, this female is using that information to set you up, to get robbed, to get killed, or in this case, to smuggle some stuff out of South America. Because they know that when you're lusting after them and you in these basic brain chemicals that we all have. And the strongest one is the need to reproduce. They know once they tap into that, you'll damn near do anything. That's what they want. If you come across a female in the game who on some hustle stuff, who's trying to play you. So while he was serving time, he met a female who was in there visiting another inmate and eventually married the woman. He said he was absolutely in love with her, similar to Kim. And now they're living in Tennessee. Happy life. Now I'm going to show you something that's going to absolutely blow your mind about this episode. I conducted a Google search on him probably like a year or so ago. He had a POF, Plenty of Fish page. And as you can see, he has a Meet Me page where he's 42, male, and single. So this lets you know that his Peruvian sweetheart probably left him after she got that green card. She was basically on that 90-day fiance hustle where, you know, certain foreigners would try to get with American guys that they meet in their home country, and then base for, you know, a green card access to, you know, the US, the UK, or Australia. So yeah, this is his page right here. Oh man. And I guess that was her right here. Yep. Now, basically he met his wife in a prison in Lima, Peru. Now, some of these South American countries, I know in Venezuela, definitely in Peru, women can come to the prison and basically live with you. And there's been a few dudes on the Locked Up Abroad series that they met their significant other in jail. Either the woman was visiting another inmate and fell in love with this American, right? Or she was hanging out in the prison. Maybe she got a relative living there. And next thing you know, she see this American and fall madly in love with him. That's a hustle. Just in case you didn't know, you got played again. Yeah, you got played again, because if you watch the series 90 Day Fiance, TV show that comes on TLC, I think, had these people who, you know, come to America to get married to their significant other. They met, you know, foreign country, meet USA, connected together. Some of these people are trying to come over for a green card. It's called the green card hustle. She saw you, an American. She did the same thing Kim did. Oh, it was all sexy. You fell in love with her. You know, she was open to you because you was her access to the USA. In this next clip, he was basically talking about how after all these years, he'd been trying to determine whether, you know, Kim really turned on him, and he tried to contact her and couldn't contact her. He started going through different scenarios, and one of the scenarios he talked about was that it might have been tearing her up inside to turn on him, right? And the other scenario he talked about was that he can envision Kim going to the airport with these guys, being in on a whole thing, and he said that that was the most likely event that didn't happen. Oh my God, boy, do you think the world revolved around you? It was tearing her up inside. She was in love with me. It wasn't tearing her up inside. It wasn't tearing her up inside that she snaked you. She was a 17-year-old drug addict. She was in the game. She didn't care about you. You cared about her. These women see that you care. Those type of women, they see that you care about them. Yes, they're going to use you and abuse you. They're going to get everything they can out of you. Just a hopeless romantic. It's tearing her up inside. That part really got on my nerves. That's when I knew you was delusioned. You was delusional, man. You just delusional, man. I ran into a lot of people like you. Now, you can say what you want about me. I mean, you know, you look at me and tell what I'm about. I mean, but you're completely delusional, dude. I mean, man. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You was 20 years old. You was young. I would go as far as to say I was like that. You know, I had a female friend. Oh, I need you know, money for hair. You know, I want to get thick, so I want to buy some whey protein. My goofy self was just going for it. Oh, here's some money. We're friends. We're friends. We're friends. I'm thinking that in my early 20s, just like he did. And it took me a while to realize that, you know, she was using me, and I cut that right off. If you're watching this right now, yeah, you know, hey, you see how I look now? I know I look toe up from the flow up, but don't worry, don't worry. When I get my money, I'm gonna get back to the way I was, man, for real, man. You know, I'm in my 30s now, but yeah, if you're watching this, but yeah, so yeah, look at me now, right? Look at me now, yeah, look at himself, but he's just a hopeless romantic, dude, man. God, homie. I'm sorry, everybody, but this guy, homie, thinking like that, you're gonna always get played in your life. You're gonna always get played. You're gonna always get the short sticking like me. But look at look who's talking, right? But homie, you're talking about that was the hardest one to believe. That most likely would happen. That's the most likely one that happened. Everybody out there can agree with that. That's the most likely scenario that happened. Hardest one to believe. Oh my God, I mean, completely delusional, dog. I swear, you are. Yeah, so basically, this is almost the end of the video. One thing I want to say is that he said that this is an unfinished chapter in his life, so he's still worrying and oogling over Kim. And you just sweating this girl. Sweating this girl, she don't even care about you. She's not thinking about you. You're still thinking about her. I understand that was your first love, but I get it, man. I get it. That was your first love. I get it, man. But, as far as that 90-day fiance thing, man, you know, I'm going to write a book. It's going to be called Banging Abroad. A Foreigner's Dating Guide to Getting a USA Green Card. Something along those lines. For now, you can check out the Locked Up Abroad Ecuador review and analyzation guide about Daniel Van der Zande when he went down to Ecuador with Dutch and Jake. One of my favorite episodes. Look in the description box below. If it's not down there, that means I haven't written it yet. If it is down there, just check it out, you know, pass it among people, you know, because I really want to write about this situation where people are, you know, getting with these foreigners and they're using you to get a green card to the USA. What seems like cooperation is them trying to use you and whatever. And that's what happened to this guy. Sorry, Robert. That's what happened to you, dog. That's what it is. I have nothing else to say. That's it. If you reach the end of this video, then you in luck. That's what it is. Yeah. That's the end of the video. See y'all later. Think smart. When you learn somebody is doing drugs or somebody is involved with criminal activity, stay far away from that person. You learn somebody is a gangbanger, stay far away from that person. Because they will dispose of you anytime they want, or they will use you to their advantage, do you wrong, or whatever it is. But yeah, so thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something. Hope you learned something about being street smart. It's crazy because I'm not even that street smart. Gotcha.